Hi, my name is Samantha Botwinick, and this is my social problems presentation. My topic is gender discrimination towards women. So the problem, gender discrimination is when an individual is being treated unequally due to their gender or sex. This is rooted from societal norms that form expectations for both genders. As a result, barriers are created for women, men, boys, and girls that prevent them from practicing their basic human rights. One sex or gender is viewed as being superior and privileged, and the other is viewed as inferior and less important. Gender discrimination comes in multiple forms, but it is most commonly targeted towards women. Women must confront this discrimination because they are viewed as lower in status compared to men. Usually, this inequality happens in the workplace, schools, at home, online, and are overall offered less opportunities than men. The effects of gender inequality. First off is violence and public transportation. Women are commonly publicly harassed and targeted for simply going about daily life. They are vulnerable to physical harassment, catcalling, being photographed, touched, and followed in public by men. Secondly is online and mental health. Women are more vulnerable to online harassment, which reflects how their place in society is inferior. There's a considerable amount of misogynistic and aggressive language online, which is usually guided towards women being unintelligent, ugly, incapable, undeserving, and objectified. Often this could happen through video games. I noticed there's a lot of misogyny in video games. Thirdly is education. At schools, girls face unfair dress codes, unfair treatment from educators, sexist comments, and receiving different grades than boys, and expectations about how boys and girls should academically perform. Sports. Regardless of the amount of effort women put into a sport, they are still viewed as weaker and behind the male athletes. Male athletes are more likely to be promoted to a higher position and paid more despite their successes. And lastly, in the workplace, women have faced having lower wages and being treated differently from men by coworkers. Other examples would be less promotions than men, unequal treatment, given less important tasks, and receiving less support from higher ups. And from a sociological perspective, symbolic interactionism explains how people develop the way we perceive the world in human interactions with the use of symbolic interactions. This theory helps humans communicate by exchanging certain ideas, symbols, and language so that things around us make more sense. It helps us understand the relationship we have with our society and explain what our experiences mean. Symbolic interactionism isn't simply reacting to something in our environment, it is creating a meaning for it. An example of this is how when we use the restroom, a symbol of a stick figure wearing a dress means woman, and a symbol of the same stick figure without a dress means men. This is an example of how dress code and how dresses are viewed as only worn by women. When we see someone with a dress, that automatically means feminine or woman because our society expects dresses to only be worn by women. Our culture pushes these gender roles, and we are expected to wear a specific style based on our gender. Fashion or clothing is viewed as a way of non-verbally communicating with others to show them what gender we identify as. Although there are other issues we should shift our focus to besides this, it is an example that can be found offensive to some women. Socialization. Socialization reinforces gender roles by forming and maintaining societal expectations for specific gender behavior. For example, young girls do not have the same opportunities as boys growing up, such as education, healthcare, or nutrition, so they grow up believing that they deserve this kind of treatment in comparison to boys. Children also learn to behave a certain way, which is determined by the way the people around them act. Basically, socialization influences everything we do for our entire lives. Often, boys develop a sexist mindset growing up because in the movies, media is seeing what is viewed as masculine. Boys develop beliefs reflected from these stereotypes and view women differently compared to them. For example, boys are expected to be into cars and sports, while girls are expected to be into Barbies and makeup. This is what is considered normal or acceptable in society. Gender role conflict. Gender role conflict takes place when the different roles a person has to engage in everyday life becomes contradictory. When a person has several roles, obligations, and responsibilities, they experience an internal conflict on which one they must fulfill more. Life becomes busy and we guide ourselves into several directions and try and hold on to those statuses, which can become overwhelming. This conflict can be explained as the different roles men and women play in society. The traditional roles are women are expected to be caretakers, housekeepers, mothers, carers, stay-at-home moms, and cook all the meals, while men are expected to have a stable job, become the breadwinner of the family, provide a solid living for his wife and children. Over time, some of these expectations have diminished, but some are still prevalent today, based on misogynistic views. More recently, there is a modern expectation of a strong, independent woman and the father as a caretaker of the children. It is important that we distinguish which roles are more important in our life so we aren't at a constant ultimatum with ourselves about where to go and what to do with our time. Potential solutions. There is no one exact solution to gender discrimination, but there are numerous ways we can evolve together and improve. When we work together to combat gender oppression, our society becomes safer, more stable, more educated, and happier. It is important to not internalize stereotypes and societal expectations based around sex or gender. A movement for change against this mindset is feminism. Feminism advocates for women's rights and overall social, economic, and political equality for both sexes, men and women. Misogyny is an underlying issue in the United States, and feminism engages in protests, movements to bring awareness to this and stop the exploitation of women. And that's my works cited.